Hi everyone, welcome to the 2025 webinar series. This is the second webinar in 2025 that the provider relations is having. The goal of these webinars is to build a good communication between Ex Libris and content providers and between content providers and themselves to have a good community, understanding community, and if there are any questions, anything that you want to know, we want you to feel free to share these with us, not only during the webinar, but in general. I'll share my screen just to make sure that we have the presentation on. Good. I think I'm sharing my screen. Nivedita, are you seeing the presentation?
Yes, no, I can see it.
Amazing.
No, not the presentation. Sorry. It's not the
Oh,
presentation.
so did I share the wrong screen? I'll try to share again.
Yes.
Sorry. All right. Can you see my presentation now? Super.
Yes.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Today we're going to learn about two main things that it's important for Ex Libris to convey to content providers. The first thing is to understand our knowledge-based ecosystem. What is knowledge-based? What is community zone? What is CDI? What is central discovery index? All these different names and what do they mean? And the second goal of this webinar is to present to you our new cataloging service and some updates about initiatives that we discussed in previous webinars. In today's webinar, we have three panelists. We have myself, I manage the provider relations team. My goal, my team's goal is to communicate with content providers and make sure that all of their content is available for our shared customers in our knowledge base. Nivedita from my team is joining us today. She will present to you a bit information about our knowledge bases, about Central Discovery Index, and hopefully address any questions that you have. The chat is always open. You can write your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I'll monitor both of them, and feel free to ask any questions. David Hanegbi from our cataloging team has joined us in order to see if there are any questions that he is able to answer, more technical questions, I would say. All right, so let me move to the agenda for today. I would like to share with you a few things before we start. Then we're going to talk about the ecosystem, knowledge-based CDI. I'm going to give you a very quick demo in Alma, the way that customer sees our content, the way that customer sees your content, and how they work with it. I'll show you the Alma side and the Primo side. I'll show you the librarian view and the patron view. Once this is done, we're going to move to the second part of the webinar, where we're going to learn about provider-centered initiatives. We have lots of things going on in order to make sure our communication with content providers is good. We have the provider platform, which we introduced last year. There are 140 providers that have their own platform that they can access and see exactly what customers see in the community zone. So hopefully all of you have the provider platform, but those of you who do not have provider platform, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you credentials so you can see exactly how customers see your content in the community zone. Maybe this is a good time for me to ask a question to the group here. How many of you have access to your own provider platform? Let's see if I can find the chat here. If you put it in the chat or in the Q&A, okay. So I see that oh, good. I'm happy to see you have access to the provider platform. In any case, those of you who by accident don't have by now access to the provider platform, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you get this access. Okay, so let's get started. Again, at any point, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. At the end of this session, I'll send you an email thanking you for joining the webinar, but also including the presentation. One of the slides is this slide where you're able to click on the link, which I'm going to do right now, and access our webinar documentation page. All of the previous webinars can be found in this page. This webinar recording and presentation will also be here once this presentation is over, maybe 24 hours after, but it will be in this page. Let me move back to the presentation and tell you the bottom line. You're going to hear about the files that you can share with us. You can hear about how you can share new collections with us, how you can share enriched metadata with us, how you can share central discovery index metadata with us. If you have any interest on sharing these with us, or maybe if you're sharing today but you want to add enriched metadata or you want to add CDI information, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll work together with you to have your content available for our shared customers. The second thing that you will learn today is about our new cataloging service. If you have any interest to listen more, maybe join a pilot where we will get full text from you and return to you metadata. Again, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to assist and we'll be happy to work with you. And the last thing I want you to know or to remember from this presentation is that if you have any enhancements that you would like us to make to your provider platform, if you have anything that you would like to work with Ex Libris and make better, we are totally open. So you have our email address, you have my email address, you have the provider relation mailbox. Please, please, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to work together with you. You can take a screenshot of this slide or I will send it to you over an email. Nevetita, is it okay if I will pass the one to you so you can share your screen and tell us a bit about the Ex Libris ecosystem?
Yes, no, thank you so much. I'll share my screen now.
I'll stop mine.
Please let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see the screen?
No, I'm still not able to see it.
Okay, just a second. No?
Something is loading. We can see your, yes, we can see.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Nivedita, and I'm part of the provider relations team. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the Ex Libris Knowledgebase Ecosystem. So what comprises of our ecosystem is two important components. One is you, the content provider, and next is our mutual customer. So let me just quickly move to the first slide. So first, we're going to talk about who is a content provider. Who are you and why are you sending us data? So content provider is basically a company that has e-resources or digital materials to provide n number of content that is very much needed by our customers, that is libraries and institutions. So basically what happens is you share your content or metadata with Ex Libris, and we acquire this content from you and then make it available for our mutual customers through the Ex Libris platforms. So let's just begin by focusing on most important component, that is our mutual customer. I say mutual because customers are very important to both Ex Libris as well as the content providers. So what comprises of a customer is, it could be an institution, libraries, librarians, most importantly, our patrons, students, academicians, researchers, scholars, anybody who is in sure need of content is our customer here. Now, let me take you back in time, how the initial relationship between a customer and content provider was. Every time a customer was in need of content, let's say a collection to be created or a particular collection needs to be updated, the only approach the customer had was to directly reach out to the provider, make a transaction, and in return receive the files. So now, if they want to make any other next kind of request, the only way the customer could do is reach the content provider's platform or the web page, understand the new content that's available, once again reach back to the provider, make the request, do the transaction, and receive the files. This relationship or this kind of process was much back in time. Now this direct relationship or direct transaction is not in the picture because Ex Libris comes into the picture now. Now what happens is, every time a customer has a request for a content, or let's say you, the provider, wants to make a particular content available for the customer, you simply reach out to Ex Libris. We acquire this content from you, make it available in the Ex Libris platform. Similarly, we listen to the customer request, reach out to the provider, get the content, make it available. This is the simple structure of how the process is at the present times. And as mentioned earlier, our most important elements are the customer and the content provider. Now we just spoke about how, like, who sends content and how it's made available. But what happens once we receive the content from the provider? Before I go into a content ingestion process, let me quickly show you. To my screen in the right, you can see a web page or a portal. This is basically in the patrons language called the summon or primo page. This is the web page that the customers use to find any content, any books or journals that's ingested in the Ex Libris platform. This is how their display would be. Now, how does the content just reach out here? That's what we're going to be seeing now. Let's begin with our knowledge base. So now our knowledge base has three platforms, that is our 360 KB, SFX KB, and Alma CZ. I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware of these three platforms that I just mentioned. If some of you are not, we are more than happy to share the links for these. You can review them and get back with your questions. Now, the knowledge base basically comprises of these three, and every time we receive content from the provider, let's say a book collection or a journal collection, we immediately go ahead and create this collection in our knowledge base. This is how the whole knowledge base structure works. It's quite simple. Getting the content from the provider, quickly moving ahead and creating the collection. Sorry, but we have a slightly more advanced and a slightly complicated platform, that is our CDI, that is Central Discovery Index. So how does Central Discovery Index gets better than a knowledge base is because in knowledge base, the content is always book or journal level. But in CDI, content can be chapter level, article level. So what we do is, when we're trying to ingest content in our CDI, we reach out to our providers requesting for rich metadata. We ask for more content, more enriched content, and that we acquire from you and make sure this kind of enriched, rich metadata is available for patrons. When they look for content, this is what they discover. The discovery becomes more maximized with CDI. Now, if you see the whole graph below, there is delivery knowledge base. Basically, our knowledge bases are delivery collections. Our CDI are called discovery collections. And you can see there is something called rights. When we create a knowledge base collection, we don't have to have any rights or any sort of agreement holding between Ex Libris and the content provider. But when we are going to be creating anything or ingesting any content in our CDI, that's when agreement comes to play in role. There is a mutual agreement that is signed between our content provider and Ex Libris because the content ingested in CDI is much enriched and much rich in data. So what is exactly needed from the content provider to be able to ingest the content? For knowledge base, as I mentioned earlier, the content is always book level and journal level. And for CDI, it is chapter level and article level. When I say chapter level and article level, any customer could directly go search for a particular chapter of a book collection and be able to derive the result of it. And for knowledge base, the most commonly requested file format is a title list, that is a kbar file. So no agreement is needed here. We also shared a global template with the content providers on how we expect this particular kbar file for us to be. Once we receive this kbar file from you, we look for all the mandatory fields that is important for us to process the ingestion. Once we have all the important mandatory fields, we go ahead and process our ingestion. So what happens is the PR analyst who's in contact with you receives the file, checks for the important fields, and opens a ticket to our internal operations team, who in further goes about and works on the technical parts of it, and the content is ingested. We also enrich content in our knowledge base, for which we request our content providers to share MARC files. And but for enriching any content, again, similar to CDI, we need agreement. So agreement comes into the picture when a content needs to be ingested in CDI and when it needs to be enriched. And requesting for a KBAT or a MARC file is one of the most familiar formats Ex Libris has. That doesn't mean we don't accept additional file formats. We do accept. Again, for CDI, the most accepted or the most generic requested file formats are MARC and XML file. As mentioned, agreement is much required. I would like to stress to our content providers here, any metadata that is available with you is much welcomed by Ex Libris, because we would really like to receive this content from you, review it in our end before we could process it, because the end goal is to give the most better and enriched content discovery for our customers. Now we spoke all about ingestion. Now let me quickly take you to the glossary. So this basically sums up everything about the knowledge-based delivery and our CDI discovery. As already mentioned, our delivery has 3 platforms: our Alma community zone, that is Alma CZ, our 360 SFX. Collections here are mostly maintained as collection level management is done in our knowledge base. And when we receive your book and journal collections, we make sure all the titles have unique title URLs. Collections are enriched in our knowledge base. And at present, we have about 43,000 collections in our knowledge base. Now moving to discovery, which is our CDI Central Discovery Index. Our most usable platforms are Summon and Primo. And as mentioned, the content here is more enriched and it is more granular. It is chapter level for books and article level for journals. And also not just restricted to books and journals. You can provide content with any content type is accepted: videos, documentaries, thesis, etc. And at present in CDI, we have about 5.2 billion records. So we spoke all about why does content providers give us data, how do we ingest, what happens, and how is it discoverable for our customers. But what is the overall benefit for the content providers and customers? What is in it for them? The one common point that fits very well for both content providers and customers is both providers and customers now only have one single point of contact, that is Ex Libris. Let's focus on the content provider's perspective. You only have to work with Ex Libris. You don't have to work with each customer, which was much older practice, wherein you have to address each customer's request for collections. Now that's not the case anymore. You just come to Ex Libris, share all the content you have, and then you let us create the collection and make it available to the customers. And again, it's one stop for content transfer. You don't have to be delivering your content to multiple platforms. You just have to work with Ex Libris, and we provide all sort of servers to make it easier for you to deliver your content or for us to acquire your content from your platforms. And again, the most important aspect of this is easier customer support. Every time a customer has any query or question for the provider, if it's in the limits of Ex Libris to resolve without involving the provider, we do it as quick as possible. If we need your input, your guidance, our team reaches out to you to have this resolved for our customers. Now, moving to the customers. Customers have all their e-resource managed under one roof, that is Ex Libris. We make it all very easy for them to access the content that you provide. They have access to full text. The patrons have much great experience of accessing all the content provided by you. And Ex Libris tracks usage of all the content that's being used by our customers. So this is all about the whole Ex Libris Knowledgebase ecosystem. As Norm mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, if you're willing to, provide more content to us or have new content exposed to our customers, please feel free to share anything that you have: titles, MARC files, any kind of metadata. Please feel free to share it to the email addresses that you see on your screen. And we look forward to continuing to work and ingest more content with all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Norm.
Thank you, Nevetita.
Okay.
Do you have a few more minutes for questions? I see you have some questions.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first question is, you mentioned that providers can share with you KBART files in order to give Ex Libris information about the title list inside a collection. Can you give us a very quick explanation about needed or which fields are important to be included in the KBART files or which are mandatory?
Yes, no, that's a great question. So yes, there are few fields that's very much needed, like the title name, the title URL, unique URL. We need unique title ID, and identifiers are a must. If it's a book, we need ISBNs. If it's a journal, we need ISSNs, and publication date. These are mandatory fields.
All right, Nevetita, thank you. I'll put this also in the chat so people will have it. I see another question. So there are two questions here. First is, please explain what is meant by an agreement again. And the second thing is, how do I know if I have an agreement with Ex Libris about CDI or MARC enrichment? So if you can explain a bit about what is agreement and how do I know if I have it?
Yeah. So when I say agreement, we Ex Libris sends over a small contract or an agreement which briefs about what kind of content Ex Libris is going to be acquiring from this particular provider. Where is it going to be acquired from? Is the provider going to deliver to us, or we're going to acquire it from your platform? So certain more, intricate details of how the content is going to be used by Ex Libris is what the agreement is all about. And if you want to know if you already have an agreement with us, this is something we'll have to check with our legal team. So please feel free to write to us. We'll have a word with the legal team and let you know if you're already having an agreement with us or not.
Great, Nevetita. I see that there are two questions here. What is a collection? I'm going to answer it when I'm going to do a live demo so they can see. And how and to what level Ex Libris analyze content usage? I'll answer it also in my live demo. Let's see another question and then move on. Hi, Nevetita, is there a documentation page with template for MARC or CDI or KBART files?
Yes, there very much is. We provide guides for everything that we request for. I'm more than happy to share them with you. You can have them shared with, in the chat or in the email. So yes, we do have guides for all the file formats we request from you.
Okay, Nevetita, if you can share a link in the chat, that would be perfect. So just to make sure that everyone has this link.
Sure.
With your permission, Nevetita, that's a good time for me to say thank you very much for joining this webinar. Hopefully you will join me in many other webinars. Thank you so much, Nevetita. Good work.
Thank you so much. Now, thank you,
I'm
everyone.
taking sharing my screen for a second again. Okay, and I lost the Q&A. Give me a second. I want to see the questions. Okay. All right. So thanks again, Nevetita. What I want us to do right now is to move to my browser. And again, I'm going to say any questions that you have, please put it in the chat. But what I'm going to do right now is take everything that Nevetita just showed you. And I'm going to try to do a live demo and explain to you the files that Nevetita talked about. How are they reflected for our customers? I'm going to give you a very, very, very high level overview. Of course, there are very specifics that relate to each one of the packages or the collections or the workflows. But in a more general way, I wanted you to see and understand how things are working. So I am no longer Noam from Ex Libris. I am now a librarian in Alma University. When I wake up in the morning and I access my office, either at home or at work, if I have internet access, I can access Alma. I can access my library management system. So I'm logging into my library management system, Alma, and let's just say that the scenario that Nevetita just explained is I purchased content from eBook Central, and I would like now to make this content available for my patrons. So the first thing for me to do is to search for the specific content that I just purchased. So I have many search options. Let me try and search by electronic collection name ebook central perpetual. Oh, I stated I'm not in the right language. Ebook central perpetual. And I'm going to search for it in the community zone, meaning that I'm searching now in the huge knowledge base that Ex Libris is maintaining. I am not searching in my institution. What I'll see right now is not something that is exposed to my patrons, but this is like a huge knowledge base where I can find content from various content providers. In Nevetita's story, Nevetita stated that the institution paid for access to a specific provider, in this case, eBook Central, and the next step for the academic institution is to go to the community zone, find the relevant collection that they want to activate, and then click on the Activate button. Now, one of the question was, what is a collection? A collection or a package, you may call it a package, is everything that is sellable by you to your customers. So if you have a package with 100 titles, what you do is you share a KBART file with all of these titles with Ex Libris. So Ex Libris will create the package or the collection. Let's just say this is the collection. And inside the collection, we will have the titles which were inside the KBART file. In this example, eBook Central shared with Ex Libris a KBART file with over 3 million titles. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on the portfolio list to show you how the titles looks for a librarian who searches for the specific collection. I've drilled down inside the package or inside the collection to see the actual titles inside the collection. What I want you to see is that for each title, there's also a MARC record. I'm going to click on it. Hopefully it's a good MARC record so I can show you a quality MARC record. Yes, I think this is a good quality MARC record. I see that the bibliographic rank is high. So what you see right now is the second file that Nevetita talked to you about. The first file was the title list, so we can see all of the 100 titles that are inside the package. The second file is what we call the MARC enrichment file. This is the metadata regarding each one of the titles. The richer the metadata is, the more discoverable the title is. So I think as a content provider, in order to make your customers happy and of course Ex Libris customers happy, the best thing to do is to make sure you share with Ex Libris quality MARC records. KBART files are great. It's good to have a title list, but if you have quality MARC records, it's even better. This way, each one of your titles will have quality metadata, and you will be able to make sure that your content is discoverable. So this is the MARC record for this specific title. Of course, each title in the community zone has its own MARC record. Our goal, Ex Libris goal, is to have as rich as possible community zone in order to make our customers happy. In cases where providers are not able to provide Ex Libris with quality MARC records, Ex Libris has its own cataloging team. Our cataloging team always makes sure to work on records which needs enrichment, and we enrich it proactively ourselves. But ideally, the best option is that content providers like you will share with us MARC records. We have lots of providers who are sharing with us MARC records, but if you by any chance are not sharing, good option right now is to try and share with us MARC records. I am moving back to the level of the collection in order to show you what happens when I activate the collection. So in the example I chose, I'm now a librarian who just purchased content from eBook Central. The first thing that I need to do is go to the community zone and essentially find the content that I just purchased in order to activate it for my patrons. So I am now in the community zone. I found the package or the collection I would like to activate, and I can click on the Activate button. I did this beforehand, and I'm going to show you how this collection now looks inside my institution. Remember, everything in the community zone is not necessarily something that my institution has, but everything inside the institution zone is what my institution has and potentially what my patrons, my researchers, my students can see. So I'll click on the small house icon since I already activated it beforehand. And I'll show you that now I am inside the institution tab. I'm inside my institution. This collection is available for my institution, for my patrons. But as you can see, the number here is a bit different. There are a bit less portfolios or a bit less titles from what existed in the community zone. Why? Because specifically, my institution has only this much relevant titles that I subscribe to. Maybe I purchase it for perpetual access. In any case, I'm only entitled to get to almost 300,000 titles and not all 3 millions that existed in the community zone. For each customer, it's up to them whether they want to activate everything in the community zone or specific title. If you as content provider are selling selective package, maybe you would like to pass to Ex Libris everything, but your customers will cherry pick the specific titles. Customers can do this manually. We have an automated process which is called auto holdings process, where content providers allow customers to automatically harvest their entitlement files, and then Alma automatically activates only the titles that they are entitled. Of course, customers can use files and activate using a file only the titles that are relevant. Alma is very robust and allows lots of functionality. But what I want you to remember is that when you are working hard with us to give us your content, it comes to our knowledge base, and from there, customers can activate it. The benefit, as Nevetita stated, if you are adding a title or if you are removing a title from your package, if you are changing your URL or the entire platform had migrated to a different URL, all you need to do is inform Ex Libris. We will make the modifications in the community zone, and customers will get these modifications automatically. Customers has a dedicated task list. It's called the community zone update task list, and customers are able to see any changes that were made in the community zone. Customers can see it in the task list and know what happened. They can do proactive monitoring, or they can just monitor whenever they want. But essentially, they have a place where they can understand all the changes that happened in the community zone for the titles or the collections that they activated. So let's tell the story again. As a customer, I purchased a package from eBook Central. I walked into Alma, I found in the community zone the relevant collection, and I activated it. What I want you to see right now is not only the librarian view, not only the person who sits behind the circulation desk, but I also want you to see what happened when a patron searches for the content in what we call Primo. So this is the package in my institution. I'm going to click on the portfolio list just as an example. And these are the portfolios which are available for my patrons. I'm going to click on the three dots here. As you can see, lots of options are available, but one of them is display in discovery. When I'm clicking on the display in discovery, I get to Primo. I am now in Primo. I am now in the patron view. Previously, I was a librarian. Now I moved my hat and I am now a researcher or a student who walked inside the library, typed in the computer a certain query. This is what they see. They have the search box, and this is, for my specific query, this is the title. I'm not a logged in user, so hopefully I'll be able to access the resource. Let me see if I'm able to access it. Yes, great. So this was my experience as a patron. I searched for a specific resource in Primo. When I found it, I see the relevant links. This resource is now available from eBook Central, but if it was available from eBook Central, JSTOR, Springer Nature, Sage, Gale, whichever provider, I would have had a good list of links here so I can access the resource. When I click on the link, I get to the resource. Before I move back to the presentation, I want to show you another example of a search that the patron is doing to talk a bit about CDI, or Central Discovery Index. So I'm going to click the essence, and I want to show you the various options that a patron has. A patron can search in Alma University, meaning they can search in the knowledge base. They can search in the collection, which I just showed you and I just activated. But they can also search in Alma University in the knowledge base and in the Central Discovery Index. In case this specific journal has also metadata, not only about the high-level journal, but also For specific journal articles, let's just say they have 10 journal articles, I will be able to find the specific article inside this journal. This is all if I selected to search in CDI. Let me try and run a search in CDI to see how it looks. Now I'm not searching in the knowledge base, I'm searching for specific either book chapter or a journal article or a specific proceedings, depending on the content. But I am now able to get specifically to the PDF, specifically to the article or the book chapter without browsing the entire journal. Totally up to the patron, totally up to the institution, how they want to configure and have this content available for their patrons. I want to now go back to Alma for a second to tell you a bit about the various modules and specifically about the analytics module. Why do I want to do that? I didn't plan to show you this, but one of the questions that came in the chat is how and to what level does Ex Libris analyze content usage? So Ex Libris has an analytics module available for their customers. I always like to say, or I just copy it from someone who always say it, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And our customers are always asking us to measure more and more elements from within their library management system. How many find and fees do I have waiting for patrons to pay? How many books are overdue? How many patrons selected the most famous, what was the most famous book that was lent in 2024? What is the most resource shared article in 2025? There are lots of examples on things that are measured. One example that I want to focus on is the usage. Most content providers knows to share usage with their customers. Some call it counter usage, others use other measures, but mostly providers give counter reports to their customers. Customers can take the usage report and load it into Alma, and from there load it into analytics. So any usage report that is reflected from a content provider is available to ingest within Alma, and from there go to analytics. So you may ask, okay, so it's available in analytics, but it was also available on the file. What's the big thing in making it available in analytics? So first, it's available in one place for the library. Second, Alma has an automated process, we call it sushi harvesting, where institution can one time define their credentials to harvest the counter report. And then Alma automatically harvests each day, each week, each month, depending on the institution, harvest the usage report from you, the content providers, and automatically have it available in analytics. But not only that, not only is the usage report available in analytics, also, it can be associated with purchase order lines that were created in the system. So let's just say I purchased the eBook Central content for $10,000. I get usage report from eBook Central about each click that was made to one of my titles. I can do what we call a cost per use report and then link the usage report to my purchase order line and understand how much money did I pay for each one of the clicks for this specific collection or package. I know it sounds complex. The analytics model is very robust, just like Alma, but those who are an expert within the institution as analytics administrators, they mainly work with the analytics module and they know how to work with these types of reports. Pausing here, I'm moving back to the Q&A to see whether there's any other question. So what is a collection? I hope I answered. It's the same word as package, anything that is sellable by you. How and to which level Ex Libris analyze content usage? We spoke about this. Okay, let me move back to the presentation. Again, please feel free to write more questions. Okay, I see another question. Are any stats on Alma CDI usage available to content providers? The short answer is yes. The long answer is you need to email us and say, hey, I want to get CDI usage reports, which this is what we have. What we will do is we will define the specific email that you shared with us, and every month you will get a report about the number of time that, I'll show Primo again, that one of your resources appeared in the search results in Primo. So if you share with us CDI information, meaning that if you share with us metadata regarding your book chapters or your journal articles, we ingest this metadata and we have it available for patrons, or the institution has it available for their patrons. Anytime that a patron sees your resource in their search result, this counts as one. At the end of each month, if you subscribe to such a report, you will get a usage report telling you how many times your resources appeared in CDI. I'm conscious of the time, so I want to move back to the presentation. I'll review the other questions. Hopefully, I'll have time at the end. Let me try and move back to my presentation. Okay, so we had the live Alma demo. I want to talk to you a bit about the enhancement that we plan to introduce hopefully in 2 months or in 3 months in August in the provider platform. Those of you who are not aware with the provider platform, I'm giving you a very, very quick overview. I just show you Alma's community zone. Alma's community zone holds content from all of the content provider that Ex Libris work with. A little bit over a year ago, we have heard from content providers and from customers that they would benefit from having access to the resources that are available for their customers. Meaning that when content providers share their content with Ex Libris, that's it, they're blind. They can't see what customers see. If customers sends them a question, they always have to ask for a screenshot, or they always have to ask for Ex Libris to assist. So a year ago, we created Provider Platform. Provider Platform is exactly like the community zone you just saw, but it's limited only to the content of the specific provider. So we have now 140 providers or 140 content providers, which Ex Libris gave them username and password, and they can access their own provider platform and see only their content as their customers sees in the community zone. We saw a dramatic decrease in the number of cases that either providers open for Ex Libris or customers open for Ex Libris because content providers were able to give better resolution or better insights to their customers because they had access and saw how their content looked like. What I want you to see right now is that we're not only stopping there. We're continuing to enhance the provider platform. One enhancement is the report to Ex Libris. So this is a screenshot that I took from eBook Central's provider platform. If you remember, as a content provider, I have access to this platform, which is very similar to the community zone, but I'm only able to see eBook Central content. So this is my content as a content provider. In a few months, we will introduce a new button. This button or this specific functionality, the report to Ex Libris, is something that already exists for Ex Libris customer, but now we want to make sure that providers who work with Ex Libris will also have this functionality. So what is the report to Ex Libris? As a content provider, because you have access to the provider platform, because you just spoke to one of your customers and you understood that a title is missing from the collection, or there's the wrong name for the collection, or the wrong name for the title, or something is broken with the URL, everything that you can see within the provider platform, and you want to share with Ex Libris that there's a need to fix it. So what you can do right now is send us an email. What you will be able to do very soon is to click on the report to Ex Libris. Once you will click on it, automatically the system will harvest information from the screen, specifically because this is a collection level issue. It will harvest the collection ID. And this is the metadata that will be needed from the PR team, from the PR analyst who will review your request and will be able to understand to which collection or which resource this request relates to. You will be able to add a very short description or a long description, totally up to you, and send the request to Ex Libris. As a return, you will get a confirmation message saying that your request was submitted. You will get a request ID in return. And on our side, we will get a ticket. We will understand that there is a specific request for a specific collection or a specific title. And we will save you the need to copy, take a screenshot, go to your Outlook, paste, write our email address, send it to us. Everything will be available here. And when you will send it to Ex Libris, you will get back an ID about your request. So in case you will not hear from us, you will be able to use this ID and monitor your requests. Hopefully, this will not happen and we'll address any question or any need that you will raise using the provider platform. This is something that we are really doing in order to make sure that we have a seamless communication with you, content provider, and save you the trouble of using your Outlook and chasing us if needed, or us chasing you if needed. This is the first thing. I see that there are some questions in the chat and I need to open the chat. So 1 second, I'll open it. Okay, I'm in the chat. Let me make it bigger. Oh, okay. I see that I needed to review the chat and not the Q&A. Okay. Okay, so there's a question here. We often get questions from customers about when our material will be available in the CDI or KBs. What is the timeline for availability to customers after we have delivered the data to Ex Libris? This is a good question. I'm saving this question for a few more minutes with your permission. I'll move forward because I have a slide about this. Okay, I'll move forward here. See, Nevetita answered. Thank you, Nevetita. Is it possible for us to edit MARC records? We provide full text, JATS, XML, but cannot do MARC at the moment. But we are able to support with basic MARC editing. So currently, we do not allow you to access the MARC record and edit it. This is something that we also limit our customers from editing community's own MARC records. But ideally, we expect you to send us a file. To be honest, the file generating the file is not that complex, but if you have any need and you want to help us, you want us to help you generate MARC records, feel free to share it with us. I think that because you share with us JATS XML, we may be able to harvest the metadata from there. Feel free to email us with a specific question and we'll try to answer it. Okay, let me see. Okay. Okay, same question, that's good. We can use basic MARC records. Yes, improve. Okay, I see David answered. Okay, David, thank you for answering in the chat. David, when you answer, if you can copy also the question. David, when you answer in the chat, I'm not sure that they can see. Maybe they can see. Please let us know if you can't see David's response in the chat. So David is a panelist. Maybe I think you're able to see. But if you can, just write in the chat that you cannot see. Let me move forward so I can answer the questions about how often or how early content that's shared with Ex Libris is presented to customers. But before I do so, I want to present you with another initiative. This is an initiative that allows you as content providers to see exactly how many customers activated your collections from the community zone. So I told you that content providers, you have access to the provider platform. We are now evaluating the option to add another icon to the provider platform, which will open a menu of options that will be available to enhance the view of the provider platform. One of the option is, one of the option will be to present to you the collection activation information. When you will click on it, you will be able to expose and see how many customers actually activated the collection from the community zone. In this specific example that you see in the first collection, this specific collection was activated by 1,400 customers from the community zone, meaning that potentially there are 1,400 academic institutions with the specific collection activated in their institution, and potentially their patrons can access these resources. It doesn't mean that this is the usage, but this is the potential usage. We have 1,400 institutions which their patrons can potentially access the resource. This is another enhancement that we would like to add to the community zone. We had multiple user studies to understand how you would like to see this content, and I'm happy to say that hopefully soon you will see this icon and you will have more and more options added as time goes by in order to enhance the view of the provider platform. In case you would like to view your activations, this panel is not available, but there is a certain workaround that we know to do. because this is a specific development for each specific provider, reach out to us and let us know that you're interested in seeing your activations, and we will have a dedicated conversation with you so we will know what are your needs, and we will have our development team expose the activations inside the community zone or the provider platform. The last thing that I want you to know about is our new cataloging service. So as I mentioned, for Ex Libris, it's a very, very important piece of service that we would like to give our customers, and we like to have rich metadata in our community zone. We want our customers to be happy. We want their customers, their patrons, to be happy by getting or by having rich metadata. The richer the metadata is, the better chances that the resource will be found. So what we're doing, like I mentioned, we're asking providers to share with us metadata. If providers are not able, we are trying to enrich the metadata as much as we can. We're trying to generate as much as we can quality MARC records. And last year, our cataloging team, David's team, created a tool which is based on AI. This tool knows to get access to full text, review the first few pages, and then the tool knows to check itself before it generates the metadata, and then it produces quality MARC fields. Currently, we have a few fields which the AI engine knows to produce just by reviewing the full text. And of course, anytime that we produce these fields, we're doing two things. The first thing is we're sharing back the metadata with the content provider that we work with the content provider that shared with us their full text for metadata enrichment. And the second thing that we're doing, we are enriching the community zone with the metadata that the AI generated. Everything to make sure that our customers are happy. Of course, for each metadata field that was enriched using AI, we add a dedicated comment that it was enriched using AI so that our customers or our shared customers will have a clear understanding on the type of enrichment that the record went through. Please, if you have any interest in joining us, if you have any interest in sharing with us your full text and in return getting enriched metadata, contact us. We'll be happy to work together with you. We're right now working with a few providers on a pilot, meaning that they are sharing with us full text. In return, they're getting the metadata and they're evaluating whether the AI did a good job, whether they want to keep working with us. Whatever feedback that they will give us, I promise you we will work to improve or keep on enhancing the full text that will be shared with Ex Libris. Again, if you're interested, feel free to let us know. This is an example on how enriched metadata record is presented to our shared customers. As you can see, generated by AI is being added to any field that was enriched. There's also a dedicated field that is added, the 588 field, which is a clear indication that part of the fields in this record were enriched using AI. If you want to join the pilot, please email us. We'll be happy to work with you. I'm repeating the question that I got in the chat. How fast are collections being presented to customers after the content provider shared it with Ex Libris? The question is between 4 to 12 weeks. This is the what we did the analysis. This is the analysis that we made. We saw the timeline. And then we understood that this is no good. We want to improve. So in the previous webinar, which I shared with you, I explained to you about the manifest. The manifest is a way for content providers to expedite the collection creation. Those providers, which you see now on the screen, they work with us in the manifest project. We have 22 providers that share with us a manifest file. What is a manifest file? Manifest file holds information about new collection that content providers want Ex Libris to create. Exactly like you send us an email, but within a file. When you work with us using a manifest and not an email, instead of having your collections being created between 4 to 12 weeks, these collections are created between 1 and 6 days. That's it. 1 to 6 days. We got a lot of good feedback from content providers that they're saying that the transition is amazing. except instead of having their content available between 4 to 12 weeks, whenever they share a manifest file with us, the next day or the next week, they check their provider platform and they see that the collection was added. The manifest initiative is something that we really try to work with more and more providers in order to make sure that they are able to send us the metadata as accurately as possible. Here is a workflow of a provider that does not share with us a metadata manifest file. They send us an email and then, here's the workflow of the manifest. Providers who share with us a manifest, they load an Excel file where the Excel file has a row. Each row represents a collection. Whenever you want to let us know about a new collection, you add another row to the manifest file and you load it to your servers, to our servers, whatever works for you. We have an automated job that harvests this file and automatically creates a ticket for my team. This is the part where I say it takes 6 days. This is the semi-automated part. It's still very fast because you don't have to send us an email and back and forth with questions. The manifest file is a template, so you cannot miss any piece of information. We get a ticket, we ingest it in 6 days. We have 3 providers out of the 22 which I just showed you that are working already in full automation. They add a row or rows to the manifest file. In return, the process takes these rows and automatically creates the collection in our knowledge base. This is the 1 day that I talked about. So if you want to join the manifest initiative, this is the time to send us an email saying, I want to learn more. We'll send you a clear documentation. We'll send you the template of the manifest file. So you'll be able to work with us and hopefully make your customers happier because they'll find your content as fast as possible in the community zone. This is explanation about the file. I see that we have 2 more minutes, but again, if you want to work with us, feel free to email us. We'll be happy to work with you. The advantages for content provider is minimal effort, maximum accuracy. For customers, they can purchase the resource from you and immediately activate it without waiting for the collection to be live. I have 2 more questions. Let me see if 2 more minutes. Let's see. Oh, I have lots of questions here. Okay. Oh, I see, David, you're answering. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Via the Alma provider platform, when I search for a collection, click on a portfolio and then view, there is no MARC record tab that I can see. I see general linking, coverage, notes, and history tab, separate information, but I can't see the MARC record. You are correct. Currently, the provider platform is not presenting MARC records. If you or any member here feels free that this is something that you would like to see, this is some enhancement that you would be able to benefit from, feel free to shoot me an email or write in the dedicated Basecamp channel that we have, and I'll be happy to try and work with you and see whether this is something that is an option. I see that David answered most of the questions. Thank you very much, David. This is a good time to remind you, email us if you want to share more content. Email us if you want to share specific metadata about your content so our customers will be happy. If you want to join the pilot, share with us full text and in return get enriched metadata, feel free to email us. If you have any concepts, any things that you want us to enhance, specifically regarding the provider platform or in general, feel free to send us an email. We are happy to work with you on anything that you would desire. Thank you everyone who are working with us. We appreciate everything that you do in order to make our shared customers happy. Those of you who are sharing a manifest file, thank you. Those of you who are not, I encourage you to share with us a manifest file. And again, I want to finish by thanking you all and encourage you to email us if you have any thoughts and any questions. Nevetita, David, thank you very much for joining me to this session. Hopefully, we will see each other again in the next webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Nevetita.